You're watching TVC News at 7. We told you earlier that the convener of the revolutionary protests, Omoyele Sowore, is now a free man.
Well, he was driven out of the office of the Department of State Services in Abuja at about 6:20 p.m. He made a brief stop to acknowledge greetings from some well-wishers who demanded he step down from the car briefly. Mr. Sowore was in high spirit.
The only thing is to thank Nigerians.
Yes.
They made this happen.
Yes.
And they should not relent. Nobody can take the people who are determined for granted.
Yes.
Merry Christmas to Nigeria.
Yes, thank you.
Now let's bring in counsel to the human rights activist and Revolution Now convener, senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana. Thank you for joining us on the news at this hour. You had earlier sent a letter to the Attorney General of the Federation asking him to release Sowore. We also learned that civil society organizations protested after the 14-day ultimatum they gave to the president expired. Some U.S. legislators also had put some pressure on the federal government for this release. Just what would you say is responsible for this release at this time?
I would think that the pressures from local sources as well as the international community paved way for the release of Mr. Omoyele Sowore as well as Colonel Sambo Dasuki. And you know, Colonel Sambo Dasuki had been in detention since July 2015. And in spite of the orders of the Federal High Court, FCT High Court, ECOWAS Court, Court of Appeal and the rest, the government refused to release him. But now that the prayer became intensified in the last few weeks, particularly because of the involvement of Mr. Omoyele Sowore, I think the government was therefore pushed to appreciate the need to allow the rule of law to take precedence over what was said to be national security before now.
Senior Advocate, do you think that the IMN leader, El Zazaki, is also captured within this net? Is there a possibility of him also being released any moment from now?
Well, in the statement I just issued, I've tried to clarify its own status, and I'm asking the federal government to liaise with the Kaduna state government so that the charge in court can be withdrawn to allow Ezaki and his wife to enjoy the freedom granted them on the 2nd of December 2016. What happened was that when the federal government became embarrassed as a result of the street demonstrations by the Shiites calling for the release of their leader on the basis of a court order, the government decided to charge both of them with procuring some people to kill a soldier. Interestingly, those who were alleged to have been procured by both of them have since been discharged and acquitted by the Kaduna State High Court. So the foundation of the charge, pending in court, is already questioned.
Okay, so
that's why I'm asking the government.
Just a minute now.
To ensure that,
reacting to your initial letter, the Attorney General had said that it was not within his authority to order Omoyele Sowore's release. But looking at the statement now, he's saying that this release is coming in line with the provisions of sections 150 subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution and in compliance with the bail granted to these two individuals. Are you aware of any recent court judgment in this regard?
Well, I think the media, what I've read since the statement of the Attorney General is that, rather, the impression has been given that the executive has decided to release both gentlemen. No, they have been released by the courts on bail. The federal government, or rather the executive, has now decided to comply with the orders of court, valid and subsisting orders of court. That is the position.
Okay, so the Attorney General has said now...
The Attorney General that had said he was not going to, he didn't have the power
Okay.
I think, I assume that he has read my letter over and over again and read the relevant authorities as well as the provisions of the Constitution.
Now let's
For
look
him
at
to now
the
review this
terms.
position.
The terms of this bill very quickly. He is asking your client to refrain from engaging in any act that is inimical to public peace and national security. Will that include the mention of revolution now, which I think your client already said, even a few minutes after it was released?
No, the court has set conditions. The Attorney General cannot lay down new conditions. And in fairness to him, in his own statement, he's asking both gentlemen to comply with the conditions of their bail laid down by the court. The Attorney General cannot subtract or add to the conditions set for both gentlemen by the courts.
Counsel to Omoyele Sowore and Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, thank you for talking to us on the news this hour.